An elephant can crush a tree, scatter a lion pride, and carry the memory of an entire landscape in its mind. So why would an animal that powerful stand still for a bird that weighs almost nothing? Because even giants have blind spots. Out on the African savannah, there are moments when a tiny oxpecker lands on an elephant and begins probing the very places that matter most. Around the ears, near the eyes, along folds of skin, and across the hidden creases where irritation, parasites, and discomfort can quietly build. It looks invasive. It looks dangerous. It looks like something the elephant should end instantly. And sometimes it does. But sometimes it lets the bird continue. That raises a strange question. What could a tiny bird possibly offer one of the largest animals on Earth? To understand that, we need to start with the elephant's body. An elephant's size looks like perfect protection. Thick skin, massive weight, constant movement. It seems untouchable. But that impression is misleading because an elephant's body is full of terrain. Wrinkles, folds, scars, damp corners, sensitive openings, and soft tissue around the face. Those places can collect mud, trap debris, dead skin, and sometimes parasites. And for an animal with a trunk but no hands, reaching every small irritating spot with precision is not always easy. A trunk is incredibly powerful and unbelievably delicate. It can uproot vegetation, but it still cannot inspect every inch of skin the way a bird with a sharp bill can. That is where the tiny visitor enters the story. Oxpeckers are built for living on large mammals. They are not random birds that occasionally land on giants. Their whole lifestyle revolves around riding the bodies of bigger animals, searching for food directly on living skin. They move with quick little steps, balance easily on a moving back, and inspect surfaces the way a specialist studies a map. On more typical hosts like buffalo, rhinos, giraffes, and other large African mammals, they are famous for feeding on ticks and other external parasites. But the relationship is more complicated than the old fairy tale version. These birds do not simply clean animals like tiny feathered doctors. They also feed on skin material, secretions, and sometimes blood from wounds. That means an elephant is not just tolerating a cleaner, it may be negotiating with an opportunist. And yet, even an opportunist can be useful. Imagine an elephant in the heat of the day, dust coats the body. Sweat and oils gather in creases, tiny pests search for opportunities. The skin around the eyes is tender. The base of the ears is warm and full of folds. Scar tissue from old fights or hard living can create rough patches that attract attention. Now imagine a bird landing there. To us, it looks absurd. To the elephant, it may feel like a choice between irritation and relief. If the bird targets a place the elephant cannot easily deal with, the intrusion may be worth tolerating. For a few moments, the giant animal allows something tiny, nervous, and sharp-billed to move across its most sensitive zones because the alternative is persistent discomfort. That is one of the strangest truths in nature. Power does not eliminate need. Sometimes it only hides it. But let's be careful here. This is not a simple friendship. Elephants are not passive platforms, and oxpeckers are not gentle nurses. Observers have noted that elephants do not always welcome them. In fact, elephants are among the mammals known to actively dislodge oxpeckers at times. That matters because it tells us something essential. The elephant is making a judgment. If the bird is helping enough, it may be tolerated. If it becomes too invasive, too annoying, or too interested in the wrong place, it gets rejected. That tension is what makes the relationship so fascinating. The bird must push just far enough to gain a meal, but not so far that the giant host decides the cost is too high. So when an elephant does allow an oxpecker near the eyes, ears, or sensitive folds, it is not surrender, it is temporary permission. There may be another reason this tolerance happens. large mammals do not experience irritation as a small problem. For a giant herbivore, tiny discomforts can become constant background stress. Insects, bites, itching, raw patches, infected scratches, and pests gathering in places that are hard to inspect. A bird that notices those places first can become, at least briefly, valuable. And oxpeckers are extremely attentive to surfaces. They notice movement under hair, changes in texture, and the tiny clues that signal food. To the elephant, that means the bird may act like a living sensor, not a loyal servant, not a trusted friend, but a restless little detector of things the elephant would rather not carry. In other words, the bird is useful precisely because it is so obsessed with the elephant's body. Still, usefulness has limits. The dark side of oxpeckers is what makes this title so strong, because these birds do not only remove parasites, they are also known for exploiting wounds and feeding in ways that may prolong irritation rather than solve it. That is why scientists and naturalists have debated for years whether oxpeckers are helpers, parasites, or something in between. And maybe that is the wrong question. Maybe the real answer is that they are both. Nature often does not divide relationships into clean categories. A creature can help and exploit at the same time. A host can benefit overall, yet still dislike the experience. A giant can tolerate a nuisance because the nuisance is sometimes better than the problem it feeds on. That is probably closer to what is happening here. Now picture the scene again. A massive elephant stands in the open. Its ears shift slowly in the heat. Its skin is caked with the story of the day. Dust, sweat, old mud, tiny pests, and the wear of travel. Then a small bird lands, not on the broad, easy back alone, but near a place that matters, near tissue that is softer, near a fold that holds irritation, near a spot the elephant can feel but cannot perfectly inspect. The bird leans in. It searches, it pecks, it probes. The elephant does not panic, it does not crush the bird. It simply decides, moment by moment, whether this tiny intrusion is worth allowing. That decision is the entire mystery, and that mystery reveals something bigger about wild animals. We tend to think the strongest creatures are self-sufficient, that the larger the animal, the less it needs from anything smaller. But ecosystems do not work that way. The savanna runs on unequal partnerships. Tiny things shape giant lives. Parasites influence movement. Birds influence comfort. Insects influence behaviour. And even a creature as overwhelming as an elephant may sometimes gain something from letting a much smaller animal get uncomfortably close. Not because the elephant is weak, but because living bodies are never invincible. So why do elephants let tiny birds search their most sensitive spots? Not because the birds are always welcome, not because the relationship is pure, and not because giants are helpless. They allow it because sometimes the smallest creatures can reach the places that power cannot. A fold of skin, the edge of an eye, the base of an ear, a hidden patch of irritation. A problem too minor to stop a giant, but too persistent to ignore. And in that strange, uneasy bargain between elephant and bird, nature shows us one of its oldest rules. Sometimes survival is not about trust, it is about tolerance. And sometimes, for a giant, that is enough.